At this stage, we are kind of transitioning from looking at the individual internally to how does then a community look externally and what is our place in it. Further on, I will talk about rite of passage, but here I want to emphasize how, from our experience, the indigenous has been able to plug into the modern. Because from the traditional settings of villages, we didn't understand how square pegs can fit into a circle. You would know that indigenous people usually sit around and share from a common plate when it comes to their food, or their building structures were mostly circles. And the rite of passage was important because only a selected few are given the opportunity to peek into what is yet to come and be able to influence the direction of the future. So Astra belief became very, very capital in how we see the future. In this case, it's about like no past, no present, no future. So in looking at community, we are then connecting these three pillars. And to the wider circle, in your own case, it's about organization to organization collaboration, people to people partnerships. How does this work? We have seen how a young person from the north is connecting with an indigenous person from the south, and we are exploring these new ways of thinking, of working together, of expressing ourselves. This is doing by example. We didn't want to do it alone. We invite this cohort. And then we begin to see the issues. What are the real issues? Like building green economies for socially excluded people. If your project is going to home into the community, there are important lessons to be learned from how rural communities think about social economy. Actually, economics, it's something which, if not really connected in this force field that holds a community together, it doesn't make sense, which is why we have come up with all these broken systems. So empowering communities, we learn from community service. The African solidarity is not usually considered an economy, but this is how to transition by integrating, because the modern has explicitly, as Adrian explained before, about repackaging. But then if these are not in the right relationships, then concepts like peace building do not have their place. Building cooperation is merely some form of hypocrisy. So mutuality is something that we feel from the heart. It is just from a perspective that is handed. So the result here is orienting people to people and creating high impact projects. Let's take like example, a community school, which becomes like an estate with permaculture farms, with young people actually doing stuff on their school environment. So Indigenous and modern, this challenge is not about the aspirational. Your projects are going to integrate this spiritual dimension in order to be able to face all the challenges. Because it is believed in the village that if we do not reconstitute the circle, which is intergenerational, which is intercultural, then we are missing something. If the young people, if they are not part of that circle and feel what is flowing in that field, which for us is the economy of love, then they will burn it down just to feel what is missing. Because for them, they can only get by joining in the circle and feeling. It's about feeling. Of course, these systems, they are not rigid in the indigenous because they are kind of spiral. There is always an empty chair for the unknown visitor. Let's talk about even why we think about the future. It's about the children who are the angels, who the unborn child. You see concepts even from other civilizations in Asia. There's this belief that people no longer plant trees because they believe that they will not live enough to harvest the fruits. But in this context, we are actually saying that we need to be planting the trees, knowing fully well that we will not be able to sit under the shade of that tree because we are enjoying benefits that were left for us because the systems were meant to take into account those of us who were not yet born. So the existential problems that we are facing are related to the simple component of how what connects the love of self with the love of community, with the love of planet. So depending on your own concept of love, you will understand why solidarity kind of is safeguarding human values if they are embedded in the true nature of love.
Yeah, so if we're then looking at bringing together the indigenous and the modern, it's that from the modern side, what I shared about the science of networks and living systems really help us to better understand and navigate the interconnectedness that indigenous cultures have been talking to and experiencing since they are around. Right? But like the science of networks can really help us with this new level of complexity in the modern world to understand that. And for that, we really need to learn how to embrace very different and diverse perspectives through building, through weaving these collaborative fields like we do here in the challenge and like you do in your community project. And as Konkanko was speaking to, what we're also really centering is that it's fundamentally also about an expression of our love and our warmth that will help us to co-create a more liberated world where people feel belonging. We need to learn how to better express and let flow our love for ourselves, for our communities, for our networks, and for the planet. So here is really, again, an invitation for us in this systems change challenge to connect and collaborate as our whole selves, bringing head, heart, and hands into coherence, bringing our different initiatives into coherence, and really modeling what does it mean to keep the fire? What does it mean to collaborate? What does it mean to weave a healthy culture and to create more and more opportunities and change along the way. So next up, we're gonna really dive a bit more deeply into how you can apply these new insights of weaving into your initiative. So we'll see you in the next video.